Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise podcast. Baseball is having its winter meetings down in Orlando, Florida. And who better to talk about Goofy than our old friend Dave Brown? I don't know. That's a terrible intro. But Dave, you're back. We haven't had you on. I don't think we had you on after the World Series. Did you know that the Dodgers won?
I had forgotten it because I wasn't here to tell you about it. That's how my brain works.
Okay.
So it went in one ear out the other.
It apparently was a good World Series. I don't know. I've seen better. I've won better, I think, than that. Before we get started, I'm going to do shameless plugs because it's Christmas season and people should be buying things for their friends and family, or maybe even better, people you don't like. You could saddle them with a book. So I have two that are on sale right now. The first one is The Immortals. It's a book about the 2016 Cubs. Look at that. That's a real book. There's printing on not on that page. There's printing on all the pages.
Well, then you get your money's worth.
There's also an even bigger book because it's on 2 seasons. It's called Great Until It Wasn't, which is about the 2003-2004 Cubs, and who wouldn't want to relive those years even more?
I was in the dugout on certain days for those seasons. So,
yeah. I like this cover. I like the cover for this one. It's pretty. It's got the 400 sign on it. But this one I went back and I scored the game, and it's the actual scorebook from Game 6, because I know Cub fans can't get enough Game 6 of the 2003 NLCS. So those are for sale. They are available in paperback, hardcover for you collectors out there, and there's a Kindle version now. And I think I was saying this on a recap. I enrolled it in Kindle Unlimited. So if you're one of those people who just has a subscription, you can download as many books as you want and you can read them.
Right.
The authors we get paid per page that is read.
Oh.
And sold some Kindle books, but only one person so far on Kindle Unlimited has downloaded the book, and I can tell what page they're on. And they really need to pick it up. They're all the way up there. They were at page 13 on Sunday. They're all the way up to 24.
Big brother Andy here.
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
Wow. Okay. So that's.
But I can tell that they're like, God, this book is awful.
Can you send them a message and nudge them along?
I guess
anonymously through channels.
You can just feel is there more of this? Oh my God. But anyway. Oh, and I got another request today. So because I can't autograph books for all of my fans, there's a place on the Discipio website where you can email me, and I will send you a book plate, and I will sign it, and you can stick it in the book. So there's that, and people are taking me up on that too, which is nice. So it's been fun.
I like how you've thought of things.
I give things lots of thought. Most of it bad, but I have thought about it. So the winter meetings are going on in Orlando, and I think we always feel like a lot happens, and then when we live through them, we're like, not that much happens. But is it because a lot of things come out of the meetings in the days and weeks to come, and then in our mind we attribute it all to the winter meetings?
I think that is. I don't know if that is always the case in total, but the winter meetings were there to stoke the flames for the hot stove, and you want to keep the hot stove burning all winter until spring training starts. So it's a good place to initiate, to break the ice. A lot of metaphors here, a lot of cold, hot metaphors. So absolutely. And also I had, we were talking about, well, this is what before the show, this is what we're going to talk about, blah, blah, blah. And I had a thought that there were a number of moves made well before the winter meetings, and the days up to, even the weeks up to winter meetings, free agent signings, a couple of trades. So people have said in the past, well, are the winter meetings, necessarily necessary anymore because we have phones, and I suppose some teams have fax machines and email and all that, and they can really, you don't need to hop a freight train like a hobo to go talk to the Tigers GM. So But I think it is good to have these guys get together. It's a social thing. It might break down some barriers, but yeah, it sets up the future stuff. But also because of the era we're in, it's possible that a lot of things haven't happened here in the first 2.5 days because they already happened. There have been some times when we'll lead up to a winter meeting and we're like, boy, I hope the winter meetings get here soon to break the ice and get things going. But this hasn't been one of those off seasons. The GMs, I've theorized half-assedly that maybe it's to get a jump on next year because of the impending doom owners lockout, but to put position teams for that. But they've already been making moves too. So there's that. And there's, as you say, on the back end, there's the fruits of the labor will come later to rhyme. A rhyme.
It's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, like in my mind, the Kyle Tucker trade happened during the winter meetings last year, but it didn't.
Yeah.
But it was Dana Brown and Jed Hoyer hanging out in a suite.
Right.
Basically laying the groundwork for the trade later. Right. So, yeah, if you feel like nothing's happening, well, I don't know that it's any different than any other year.
And part of the mental thing happening here, there's a little bit of a Mandela effect, like you said, with, oh yeah, the Kyle Tucker thing happened. That happened during the winter meetings, and the greater it did happen during the winter meetings. It's just it wasn't finalized, it wasn't announced, whatever, until after. There's also our whole, our short attention span culture, and give me immediate instant gratification, and we want, I think last year, like before the meetings officially opened, we got word that Juan Soto had signed his contract, but it wasn't official until like Wednesday afternoon. Perhaps like after the unofficial end had happened. I don't remember the exact timing on that, but there's that kind of stuff too. It's not everything has to happen this second, whatever it is. So hold your pants, as Ditka would say.
Isn't the main reason for the winter meetings the like job fair kind of thing for the minor league teams?
Right. Yeah, it's turned out.
And then it's like there's vendors, and that's like where you meet with the guy who might make your mascot costume and all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on other than GMs or vice presidents of baseball, whatever, sitting around, listening to Scott Boras make puns in the lobby, which is always fun.
Yeah. As I've said before, puns always seem to be a lot better when I make them. But when someone else makes them, I feel how people feel when they hear my puns. I roll my eyes. And when Scott Boras makes them, I mean, I did like, what do you say about Tarek Skubal? He was a saber-toothed tiger, saber-proof tiger, which doesn't actually make sense. I mean, but I thought it was clever-ish, clever adjacent.
So as painful as the pun fest is that he rolls out, think about the pitch meetings that they have in the conference room back at Boris Corp.
Right.
Where there are no bad puns, just ones we're not going to pick, where they're just throwing out the worst ones ever. They should put out like a list at the end of the winter meetings of the rejected puns, the ones Scott thought weren't clever enough.
I'm sure that someone has asked him about that and maybe phrased a question just like that or similarly. So, but I haven't heard the answer. I've had a chance to be at the winter meetings a few times, but when Boris does his thing, I tend to be. One of the reasons I'm kind of an underemployed sports writer is because I'm like the last one to know, which is not a good thing when you're a sports writer necessarily. And Boris is here, and I'm like the last one to know, and it's like 40 people deep around him, so I never hear what he says. So I never hear the puns firsthand, and I would like to know the answer to that question. There's like a no judgment zone at Boris Corp where they sit and spitball the puns that don't get used, or are these just has he not really workshopped these? Are these just coming out of his brain?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that they are, but maybe that is one of the reasons that not that being an agent you need to be a punster, but maybe his brain is such that there's some reason there why he is good at puns, because his brain is good for that and agenting and whatever else. So.
Well, he's cornered the market on it, though. I mean, you don't see Casey Close sitting around firing off puns.
Didn't Casey Close announce a big move though in the middle of Boris? I heard some people saying,
Oh, did
"Hey,
he?
this announcement." Did Casey Close do that? So
Did his wife sue Fox News again? Is that what happened in the middle of it?
Yeah.
Well, things have happened.
Yeah.
Our large adult son, Kyle Schwarber, to the shock of no one, is going back to play for the Phillies. To the shock of some, one of the best offers he got was from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who offered him 4 years and $125 million, and they want a lot of credit for that. They want that. We almost got him credit.
Right.
I would like to know what the offer was. Was it one of those where Ben Cherington was like, kind of like one eye closed, kind of like slowly handing the offer over, like,
Right.
all right, here's our offer. You're not going to take it, are you? Because we're completely screwed if you say yes. And then the Reds, who in the most Reds thing possible, somehow let it leak afterwards that even though they made a competitive bid for Schwarber, the only reason they did it is because he's from Middletown, Ohio, and they felt like they could sell extra tickets. So don't expect him to make a big offer to anybody else.
Right. Yeah. If we can't think of anybody who's from Ohio, just send us emails with suggestions, because that's the only way we're going to add any players if they're from Ohio. We can't think of who that might be. So
it's just amazing to me. They couldn't just make the offer. It got rejected, and to just take the credit they were going to get from some of their fans. But, well, at least we're trying to get a guy. They immediately had to say, well, don't expect any more of this crap. That was a one-time only deal. But there's another solution for them. Of course, it would be to trade for University of Cincinnati star Ian Happ. Think of the tickets you could sell if you had Ian Happ selling coffee, hair plugs, and doing his podcast from left field during games. It'd be great. I wonder, do you think they could, there's a lot of promotions they could do. Could you do like a hair plug cannon where he runs around and he shoots hair plugs into the crowd?
You could shoot like wigs with glue on them into the crowd, and you try and hit the guy in the head.
If the Knicks never did that with Marv Albert, I don't know how. Oh. I don't know that anybody will ever do it.
Sensational rub.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that the Cubs would get interested in bringing Kyle back, considering it's the worst single move of the Jed Hoyer regime was DFAing him and getting nothing in return.
That's one of the worst moves that anybody's. That's like David Ortiz bad.
Yeah. He, to put it in context, over the last 4 years, Kyle Schwarber has hit 101 more home runs than any Cub. And it's Ian Happ. Schwarber has 187 and Happ has 86. Good job, Jed.
Well,
and then Edwin Diaz signed what I thought was a very modest contract, 3 years, $69 million with the Dodgers. His AAV is the highest for any closer ever.
Yeah.
I was like, really?
Yeah.
But I mean, the 3-year part, like, to me, what that says, and you know this better than me, what this says is part, and I've felt this for a long time, part of the advantage the Dodgers have of running the team the way they do is every player knows they're going to be good. And they want to play for him. And you would have had to, other team would have had to pay Edwin more than that to get Edwin to come play for them. But for the Dodgers, like, well, I'll probably pitch in 3 World Series. I'm still going to make a shitload of money. I'm going.
Right.
And then, there's deferred money in it, though. Oh, I'm sure Tom Ricketts had to stagger over to a couch and lay down because the AAV for Edwin is actually only $21.5 million, less than the qualifying offer to have Edwin Diaz close for you.
I have kind of a solution to that in a way. Why don't you make some offers with deferred money in them yourself?
Oh, no, they don't want to do that.
You will pay less money.
They don't want to do that. No, that's not. They liken that to cheating somehow. Even though the best free agent contract any Cub, well, it's Andre Dawson's is the greatest ever. No one will ever get a deal like that again.
Yeah.
He hands you a blank contract and you just write in an amount. The second best one, John Lester's deal, had deferred money in it. Yeah. And it worked out just fine. And Jason Hayward's had deferred money in it. I think that's the one that scared them off. But it was like $5 million a year. They didn't defer, $68 million a year like some other guy did. But we've been through the whole thing about how that means the Dodgers don't really have to pay Shohei $68 million a year because they can invest the money. There's X amount that baseball requires them to put into escrow, but they're allowed to make interest off the money. And then when they go to pay Shohei, when he heads off to Japan to not pay U.S. income tax on that money, the Dodgers will not have paid him the $68 million a year. But the Cubs look at it like, oh, no, we can't do that. It's too complicated. We can't figure that out. We can barely figure out how to pay him in current money. I thought it was instructive, though, that the Mets basically said, yeah, you can go to the Dodgers. That's fine. Because that's
well,
a team
they have signed Devin Williams.
Yes, but they let the New York media run around with, well, maybe they're open to having both. But apparently they wanted Edwin at a discount, I guess. I don't know.
I can remember, I haven't looked at his rolling numbers at StatCast, but I remember times in the last few years where Mets fans and media were panicking about Edwin's lost it, and is he ever going to get it back? So, which is not atypical with relief pitchers. That's why we don't. Right. That's why, as you mentioned, the biggest average annual value for a relief pitcher is what it is, and it's surprisingly not that high because they're very mercurial in their production. So, there were as much of a they love playing that Timmy Trumpet song, and he's part of the gang and all that, and the culture. There are other ways to add relief pitchers, so they're not doomed.
Yeah. Nobody's holding a bake sale for Steve Cohen and the Mets. They should be able to do just fine. I don't know. So Edwin had the great year in 22. Then 23 is when he fell off the mound at the World Baseball Classic and missed the whole year. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't as good in 24, but he was still good. He was pretty good last year. Right. But yeah, I mean, it's been up and down, so I could see that. His deal's still not as big as the one the Dodgers just gave Tanner Scott last year. Just funny to me. He's the second highest paid guy in the bullpen. But that's one of the great things about being willing to spend money is that you can paper. If you make a mistake, you can just paper over it. You can just go get somebody else. And
you can get somebody else, and not only with free agent dollars. The Dodgers pay attention and they do things well in all of the player acquisition, player development areas in general. There's always guys in the Dodgers roster, who's this guy? And they always bring them, and maybe they're not good for the whole year, but they get lots of mileage out of their minor league, deep into their minor league rosters. Yep. So that's where the real safety net is.
I think the biggest reason the Dodgers piss off other teams is that the Dodgers, especially if I were the Cubs, if I were Ricketts, which God forbid, I don't want to be one of those guys, but if I was, the reason I would be mad constantly at the Dodgers is they make our excuse of, if you pay the luxury tax, it's not just the financial penalties, it's you lose draft picks and you lose draft money and you lose international, and it's just going to hurt your whole organization. And the Dodgers pay the tax basically every year. They pay all the penalties, and they still have a super deep farm system. Yep. And they find good international free agents, and it doesn't appear to affect them at all. And it makes the Cubs' argument as to how you can't run a successful franchise if you're paying the luxury tax, makes it hard to believe when the best team in the league pays it all the time.
Right.
So that's why they don't like that.
You can't just say as a team, well, we're not even going to bother, which a lot of teams do. Like the Pirates, they're not even going to bother to try because we don't think there's any way we can win with in the system. And that's not the idea, capitalism, great, whatever. The idea is to try to win the World Series. That should be the goal of every team. And if it's not, you are sandbagging, and that's cheating in its own way. It's cheating not to win. It should not be accepted. But there are a lot of fans that parrot the line of every contract has to have value. You got to win every deal. You can't overpay for anybody. And that's not how it works either. I know not everybody's going to be able to spend like the Dodgers. There should be better revenue sharing. But why people think it's a better solution to have the owners just keep more money than the players, why would anybody think that? And why do you think that that's going to make your team more necessarily competitive? It's not.
Don't you feel like that's just fan coping with the disappointment that their team won't spend, so they find a reason to say, well, actually, though, no, this is the right thing. They do it right. It's the other guys that's like, no, you root for a team that doesn't want to win that bad. I do. I root for a team that clearly the Cubs don't want to win that bad, just given the way they behave. They're busy shopping at the middle of the free agent market, which is arguably the worst place to shop, because you're still paying good money, but you're not paying top dollar, but you're still paying pretty high dollar, but you're getting guys who don't have the ceiling of the really good players. And if you build a team out of pretty good players, it turns out you just get beat by the teams that have the great players. And I felt like it was instructive yesterday when, within a matter of minutes, 2 contracts were announced. Schwarber making $30 million a year and Edwin Diaz making $23 million. And I guarantee you this offseason, the Cubs will sign $53 million worth of free agents. And when you add those guys up, however many that is, they won't have the impact that Kyle Schwarber and Edwin Diaz will have.
Right.
And so it seems to me like a smart team would be looking to spend their free agent money on the best players possible, and then use their big brains and their spreadsheets to fill out the roster to make sure you don't, the Cubs have like a no bad player philosophy. Their whole idea is if they can just put a good player at every position, they'll be successful. But there have to be some great players sprinkled in there.
Right.
And you really you shouldn't have to spend $16 million a year for 4 years to find somebody who can do what Jameson Taillon does. You should be taking your Jameson Taillon money and adding it to somebody else's money, and then going and getting a really good starter. And then that's where you find your bargains to fill out the 4th and 5th spots in your rotation. But it doesn't do any good if you have 5 threes, which is basically what they're going to run out there again.
Right.
And they can't understand why they can't they can't win anything important. It bothers me a little bit. Speaking of that, they seem to be interested in Alex Bregman again this year.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense last year to be interested in Alex Bregman because he wanted a very short contract for a very short third baseman. And he wanted a height relevant contract like me. Let's keep it short and sweet.
Okay, Boris.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on it I want to work for Scott, so I'm working on puns. It doesn't make any sense to me to be interested in him now when you're probably gonna have to give him 5 years.
Right.
And it's funny, he went to the Red Sox last year, partially because they gave him a lot of money, but they also gave him the flexibility to leave after a year, and the idea that the Green Monster, he's just going to be banging balls off the Green Monster, put up huge numbers, and then and he had a good year. He missed a bunch of games. He missed 50-some games. But his numbers in Boston were terrible. His numbers on the road were really good. He didn't take advantage. He put up a good enough season. He's fine. He's going to find a job. But it didn't work out the way they thought it was going to work. And so people trying to figure out why the Cubs would be interested in it, signing him longer term when you have the great Matt Shaw at third base, who Keith Law keeps insisting that they're basically, it's Alex Bregman going this way and Matt Shaw going this way, and they probably already meet. So why would you spend $30 million on one when you could spend $800,000 on a rough equivalent? But the basic feeling is the Cubs don't view Matt Shaw as their third baseman of the future. They either view him as a guy they trade to get somebody, or he plays second base and Nico Horner goes off somewhere else. Either they trade him in the final year of his deal, or they just let him leave.
I didn't see how Shaw's defense was.
It was very good. He was a Gold Glove finalist at third base. And we know because, my buddy Ian Happ, 4 Gold Gloves. You have to be great. They don't just give Gold Gloves to anybody, Dave. Oh, except for Ian Happ, who they do apparently just give them to. He was really good. He was a little shaky at first. He'd never really played there, just a few games in the minors.
Yeah.
But he got really good really fast. It was pretty impressive. And then his numbers in the second half were good. He had over 800 OPS in the second half. But he was very bad at the end of the season, and he was
at the end. Yeah,
he was terrible in the playoffs. He was completely overmatched in the playoffs. But a lot of that also happened when he had to take a day off to go to the funeral of his favorite podcaster. I mean,
well, I hadn't been thinking about that until you mentioned it.
It's funny though. I've seen people go, "Well, that's probably why the Cubs want to get rid of him because of that." Like, no, that only endears him to that organization.
Have you seen who they donate to politically?
Yep. There's a reason he got to go,
or are related to.
So I don't know. And then they're also linked to Zac Gallen, who Bob Nightingale actually the Cubs signed.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah.
And did you know where Zac was at the exact moment that Bob Nightingale reported he was signing his contract with the Cubs?
Is he getting married in somewhere? Or
yep,
engaged?
he was at his own wedding.
Bob.
Oh, Bob.
I thought Bob was gonna scoop himself for it's not the BBWA, but remember how he scooped the BBWA, the Hall of Fame vote? He's like, who was it? Aaron Judge is expected to win MVP, and Bob this year was the president of the BBWA, and I don't know why he was doing that for Twitter. It just didn't. Anyway, he did it, and he's like, Don Mattingly is favored to get in. And I'm like, he did it again.
Yep.
And that vote wasn't a BBWA function, but he was doing the same thing that he did for Aaron Judge winning the MVP over Cal Raleigh. And stop doing that, Bob.
He's something. I'm sure the Cubs are interested in Gallen. They can add him to their roster of guys who are pretty good. They can just throw him in there with whatever they're going to get out of Matt Boyd and Jameson Taillon and Shota. And it's like, just couldn't you take the money that you're going to spend on Bregman and Gallen, and couldn't you go get like a really big bat? Like, I don't know, maybe Kyle Tucker. For less money per year. Now it would be more years, but I got to tell you guys, you're going to spend that money every year. The money you're going to spend on Kyle Tucker, you're going to spend on players every year, and they're not going to be as good as Kyle Tucker. So maybe just go do it. But I don't understand them at all.
Gallen is, he's been, you mentioned how Keith Law was comparing Bregman and Matt Shaw. And Gallen has definitely been on the decline a little bit. And he's over 30.
Yep.
And, I don't know if he's going to continue to decline as he is, but I would hesitate to give him $150 million. Him, yes.
Well, if you believed Bob, it was 3 years, $66 million. Which, yeah, you probably would.
Okay. All right. Well,
that would be okay. But I'm just thinking that if you're the Cubs, you probably have a bigger need than spending $22 million on Zac Gallen.
Well, especially if you're not going to.
It was Bob, so we know he's wrong. So we can't even. It's not what Zac Gallen wouldn't be signing a 3-year, $66 million deal in December.
Right.
I mean, that's a deal he signs and.
That's a spring training.
March 1st. It's like, well, shit, this is all I'm getting. I'll take it. He's not signing that. Yeah, and he was really bad in the first half, and he was better, but not great in the second half last year. So it didn't really and there was no explanation for it. Like, was he hurt? Is he hurt? Is he threw a bunch of innings, a bunch of years in a row? Which is part of his appeal. It's kind of the Dylan Cease without the strikeouts thing, where he's gonna make every start. Well, maybe at some point his arm goes, I give up. And but yeah, he was 5.3 WAR in 22, 4.4 in 23, 2.6 in 24, 1.1 in 25. That trend goes one way, and it's not up. But if they finish the offseason and their big additions are Alex Bregman and Zac Gallen, I don't understand what they're doing at all. You filled a hole you didn't have at third, and you added another solid pitcher to a rotation that already has solid pitchers on it, with maybe one guy with real upside in Cade Horton. And I know there's people worried about Cade because Cade doesn't strike people out either. But he's really hard to hit.
One last thing on Gallen. If he were to sign a short-term deal, I would say a 1-year deal would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, than a 3-year deal. Right.
Yes.
Unless he thinks, oh, I'm shot.
Right.
He's telling the agent, get whatever you can. I'll take it because it ain't going up year after year. It's going the wrong way. It would be nice if a player would think any player is really that honest with their agents, because they don't want to speak it out loud to themselves, much less to somebody else.
True. No, you're absolutely right.
But if they're basically like, oh yeah, I'm fucked. I'm never going to be good again. Get whatever you can. You're getting 5% of this, so do your best, because it's going to be 5%. If you don't get me a deal for next year, you're getting 5% of nothing. That's what you're getting. So go get what you can get.
If you can't do it in money, make up for it in puns or something.
Where do you think Pete Alonso is going to end up?
I've always thought that he was going to go to the Mets, and if not, the Red Sox. I think those are the two places. But I don't have any. That's just my feeling. But especially now that they haven't signed Diaz, I see the Alonso is sort of like people look at Paul Konerko's stats, and he never had a lot of WAR and stuff. There's some similarity there. He has more power, I think, than Konerko. I assume he does. He's got a higher ceiling there. But there's that whole first baseman hit home runs. The hesitancy to give Schwarber money is similar with Alonso and players like that who they don't play a premium position, and so teams are trying to get out cheaply there. So I think that's why his free agencies have dragged out and why he's opted out, and he still produces fine. But I think now that Diaz has gone, I don't know how much money the Mets are going to save by signing someone else instead of Alonso, So what they lose in some value on the contract, maybe they gain in vibes. So they keep him and worry about saving money somewhere else. I mean, Cohen worrying about having to save money is hilarious,
Yeah.
He just got a license to have a casino. Now, I don't know why anybody necessarily would want to gamble in Queens, but if they do, Cohen's going to corner the market. So,
yeah, Olga Prasnay decided that the Pirates should sign Pete Alonso. If they're going to spend money, they don't have a first baseman. They have the troubling name Spencer Horowitz, who doesn't have the other O to make it Horowitz. It's right. Horowitz, but everybody calls him Horowitz. And it bothers me, so I don't want him to see him play, because I can't reconcile where that the second O sound comes from in his name.
He had a pretty good. He had a. The Pirates always seem to have these bargain first basemen, Rowdy Tellez and Carlos Santana, and the guys that sort of make the circuit of Rust Belt teams where we don't want to spend a lot of money on guys. So there's these 3 or 4 guys, and that's a place where, who's the last good Pirate first baseman? I don't know. That one guy who hit a lot of home runs. I forget his name. He was with the Orioles too, but it's not Willie Stargell. Who's the Pirates Oliver? First? What's that?
Al Oliver. Scoop.
Who's Al Oliver?
Who was Kevin Young? Was Kevin Young their last good one?
Yeah, right. It was after that, but yeah, 2012. Okay. Not Gabby Sanchez. Hell, I don't know. Anyway,
Kevin Young in 1999, 26 homers, 106 RBIs.
he's pretty good. Garrett Jones, who's from born in Harvey, Illinois, like me. Am I thinking of Pedro Alvarez? But he's third base.
Yeah.
I think that's who I was thinking of. So I take it all back.
Harold Reynolds this morning on their little show on MLB Network this is perfect Harold. He was trying to give the Pirates credit for being active, for being in on the Schwarber thing and maybe trying to go for other people. But he basically said, now the reason that they do this is, this is a positive to Harold. He's the reason they're doing this is they're making these offers. They're trying to sign these guys. They're probably not going to be able to sign them. But then when they have to trade Paul Skeens, they can say, well, we tried to add players and we couldn't. So that's why we have to trade Skeens instead of not trying and then having to trade him anyway.
Right.
So, all right, Harold, go to Boston Market and hand out some hugs. And that's enough. Time to go back. Time to go back to bed, Harold. I know you got up early. What about Cody Bellinger? Go back to the Yankees. He might if he could go to the Mets, and then the Mets could just play Mark Vientos at first and let Pete go, or maybe keep them both, or whatever.
Good. Who's the third?
Brett Beatty.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure, and I don't think the Mets are sure if Beatty and Vientos, the stretch maker, that's what I could call him if he's first base. Every time Vientos is mentioned on Twitter, I do a Mentos pun for no one but myself, because it's like shouting in a dark room.
Yeah, there's a good chance that Mark Vientos will always be remembered for having a really good second half 2 years ago, and that'll be it.
Right.
But
I don't think, if you're the Mets, I don't think that you can go with Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos as your starters at two positions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can do it with one. I'm still not sure you can do one, but you can at least try.
Why don't they sign Cody Bellinger and Kyle Tucker and play Cody at first?
Yeah.
I like that. I would do that. Cubs should do that too. Both should. Maybe they could share them. Oh, there you go. Tom gets on the phone with the Mets. We'd like to share a player with you. We'll
Cody Bellinger.
Well, you can have him on weekends.
There's a non-zero chance that Manfred tries to do that someday. Player sharing. Bellinger just makes a lot of sense for the Yankees because he's proved that he can. He's a Yankee kid. His dad played there.
Yep.
He's got that funny look on his face, but he doesn't let stuff bother him. He's still a good player. He can handle New York. He's adjusted well after his shoulder terror of like 5 years ago. He's not. You see, his metrics are much different than they used to be, but he still pretty much produces.
Yep.
And he's not so expensive that you worry about it, especially if you're the Yankees. So to me, it makes sense that he stays with them. But that's another play. I mean, the Cubs, I don't know if they anymore. Maybe not, but
they should have kept him last year. He should have been their left fielder last year. They should have pressured the Grady and Happ into accepting a trade somewhere. They would have been far better off. They gave him away. They traded him for Cody Petit. They traded Cody's, and they gave the Yankees $500,000 because there's no way the Yankees could shoulder all of that huge Cody Bellinger money.
Right.
And I don't know what they bought with the $500,000. They bought Cody Petit, who then they released at the end of spring training. He never pitched for them. He went back to selling above ground pools and somewhere in Kansas.
And that's not Cody. That's not Cody Petit, the French word for small either. It's spelled differently. Or like a mini me, Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, not Cody Petit.
There's Cody Petit.
Cody Poteet.
That's a good Southern name. Only people in the South should be named Poteet.
The Mets, though, I mean, it was amazing. I know they have a disappointing season. They blew a playoff spot, but I was amazed they contended as long as they did, considering they're by far their biggest acquisition last offseason. Bigger than impact-wise, because not size-wise. Bigger than Juan Soto was Nick Madrigal, and he got hurt and didn't play at all for them. I'm sure their entire season plan revolved around Nick Madrigal, and he's just gone.
You gotta look at life through the prism of Nick Madrigal and through the prison.
Now, Nick has a brother. Does he have another brother? Is there another brother named Daryl who the White Sox could take number 1 overall?
Is this like Nick Jonas and Joe Jonas and Jonas?
I like that the presumptive number 1 pick is a perfect Chicago name.
It is.
Roch Chalowski. But I wonder if Theo Epstein has called Chris Getcha to warn him. Roch is 6'2". It's way too tall to play shortstop. You're going to have to pass on Roch Chalowski. It'll never work.
There's a whole bunch of people named Roch now that spell their name, and maybe there weren't, and I just noticed. But Roch, like there's the reporter from the Orioles, Roch Kabatko, who's also a bodybuilder. He's a very nice man, but he's built very, well, let's just say, the men are envious maybe and self-conscious of their own looks when they look at Roch. But he spells it Roch, and can you really pronounce Roch when it's spelled like that?
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
It's Roch Chalowski.
Yeah, Roch.
I wonder. I would be great. It doesn't have his full name here. Oh, that's his middle name. His name is Daniel Roch, Roch. I was hoping his real name was Rochester, and they just called him Roch. Now that's a great name, Rochester Chalowski. You should go by that.
You could pull one of those strings by the curtain, and he'll appear like a butler. It's a Rochester's Rochester Jack Benny's.
Yeah, Rochester Jack Benny's driver. Butler?
Maybe. Yeah. He's number 1, his assistant. I don't know. He did a lot of things. Well, don't. Yeah.
Oh,
careful with that.
That's bad.
Rochester.
Then there
are. I can't believe I'm making Jack Benny references. That's way older than me. I should not do that, even in my own time. But anyway.
Well, we didn't go full Amos and Andy, so it's fine. Trade rumors abound. 8 teams supposedly trying to trade for Marlins right-hander Edward Cabrera, and multiple teams involved in MacKenzie Gore, including the Padres, who are like, we should get this guy. We did it. We had him. We did. Yeah. The Cubs supposedly involved in both, and I can tell you which one they'll get. Zac Gallen.
Yes. Oh, Zac Gallen. Yes.
Zac Gallen.
Edward Cabrera is a guy that has been on the trading block, or sometimes we hear stories that he's been taken off the trading block. But the trading, it's like those phrases. That phrase goes hand in hand with Edward for like 4 years. So the Marlins have always been on the verge, maybe, of trading him. But they have newer people now running the team, and so they have to go through their, we didn't draft this guy, so we'll put him out there and see what kind of offers we get. Oh no, those aren't very good offers. We're going to keep him. So, it's just, I think it's one of those things where they're doing their due diligence.
Due diligence. I like him. I would trade for him if I were a big league GM. I would have Edward Cabrera on my list of guys I would trade for. I don't know.
He got on a pretty good streak at the end of last year. I know this. Thank you, Fantasy Baseball. But he did. There was like one start where, his elbow hurts.
Yeah, he missed right before the deadline, or trade deadline. He missed a start. Yeah. And then they hurried up and made him pitch again before the deadline, and then they didn't trade him anyway.
Right.
Prove you're healthy. Okay, fine. And he pitched pretty well.
But he's really good. I like him too. I'm sure we like him for a lot of the same reasons. I do too.
Here's what I would do, though. I would try this. Since they're a new front office and maybe they're not real familiar, I would trade for Edward Cabrera, but I would send the plane for Yuri Perez and see if they notice.
Right.
Spring training starts and there's Edward. Like, shouldn't we trade you to the Cubs? Well, you did, but they took Yuri instead. Well, I guess there's nothing we can do about it now. I guess he's a Cub.
We're new here, so I guess that's how that works, right? That's up.
Didn't we have anybody at the airport? No. Yeah, and the MacKenzie Gore thing, suppose, Jed was complaining last year after the deadline when he didn't do squat. And, everybody wanted either Cade Horton or Matt Shaw in the trades. And I was like, well, maybe that's why you're trying to sign Alex Bregman. because you're going to send Matt Shaw to the Nationals as part of a deal to get MacKenzie Gore.
Mm-hmm. MacKenzie Gore, I don't think I have him on fantasy, but I was noticing that's a guy that I've had before. Great start to the year, made the All-Star team. Last, I want to say 12 starts, horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah, he was bad after the deadline.
Not like bad luck bad. He was batted around like a piñata bad.
I have a style question about MacKenzie. When did he start capitalizing the K? This is a relatively new thing, right? Has he always
I think you're having a Mandela effect there. I think it is unusual, but I think it has always been that way.
It's always been that way? Okay.
I believe
I just started noticing it. But I'm an idiot. I also just noticed that Rob Thompson, the Phillies manager, no P. I don't know why I'd never noticed it before.
I think you must have noticed that.
He's 60 years old. I have a feeling he didn't just drop the P the other day. I have a feeling he's never had it.
Did you ever think that he was Robbie Thompson from the Giants?
Only when they first hired him.
Right.
Like when they promoted him. And I was like, oh, God, that guy who killed the Cubs in the 89 playoffs?
Yeah.
And then I saw him and went, that's not him. That's just some guy that used to hang out with Joe Torre, right? Was he a Torre coach?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a Yankee coach. Yeah.
But anyway, I just assumed I assumed it was a branding thing, and MacKenzie, some ad agency was like, "Hey, you're a pitcher, right? You better capitalize the K in your first name."
He's also what number is he? Is he 7 or 1? He's one of those two numbers.
He's 1.
You know,
how about this?
My brain doesn't like that when pitchers pitch in single digits. I don't like it.
I have a better idea for MacKenzie Gore. Backwards K. If you're going to capitalize it, go backwards. How great would that be?
I have talked to him. It didn't go great. It wasn't bad, but so I don't know how he would. I'd love to ask him that question. I might steal that question, but give you full credit, of course. Yeah. This guy I know wants to know if you would do your backwards K.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, I would sign autographs that way if I were him. Except I think it would be hard. It'd be not very fluid to go backwards. But you get used to it. Practice a little bit.
You're doing the whole conversation. This is great.
I really like this idea. I'm gonna.
Well, I mean, hopefully it will.
If he gets traded to the Cubs,
for him, and you can bring it up every now and then.
If he gets traded to the Cubs, I will beat the obvious shirts guys to the T-shirt with the backwards K. It'll just say MacKenzie with a backwards K.
So
I'll make billions.
Getting back to Gore's second half, I don't know why he had a bad second half. I don't is there an injury there that they're hiding or what? Does this have anything to do with why they want to trade him? Because it would seem if you're the Nationals. I mean, that's a new organization, too. I mean, those guys are really new, that front office.
Yeah.
Didn't draft him. You know, they don't have, emotional... They can look at it with a fresh set of eyes, however you want to look at it, and possibly trade him. But just to see what they can get, if nothing else. But what was the deal with that second half? You know, is there something lingering there? He's a pitcher, so you always got to worry that anyway. So
I just assumed he was so disappointed that he didn't get traded to the Cubs that his heart wasn't in it anymore.
Sure.
Fine, hit it. I don't care. What does it matter? Nothing matters. Oh, he wasn't that bad in the second half. He in 11 starts, he was 1-7 with a 6.75 ERA and 55 hits in 49 innings.
6.7.
He walked almost as many batters in the second half in 49 innings as he did in the first half in 110. Also, good sign. 11 starts, 49 innings.
Right. I mean, that's closer to a lot of teams do that these days with their pitchers. But
actually, I guess it's not that much different because 19 in the first half, only 110 innings. Oh, he's one of those damn 5 and divers. Yeah, we don't want that. Last thing on here. Bichette. He's got to be a second baseman for somebody.
Famous bounty hunter. Maybe third.
No more shortstop? Yeah, third,
maybe third.
Third or second. No more shortstop for Bo because he can't move. Couldn't move before he got hurt, and now he really can't.
Right.
I did admire his Kyle Schwarber-esque return to the World Series. It's not as good though. I mean, the Schwarber thing. Right. Kyle played 3 games, and really he played 2 games in an inning.
Change, yeah.
And he hit 417 in the World Series, where Bo only hit like 340 or something. Not nearly as good.
Maybe we mentioned it. I don't remember. But I'm sure you did on your other ones. But I liked it that the national broadcast remembered Schwarber's and they were comparing those careers, whatever those World Series comebacks.
Not to toot my own horn with my book or anything, but you will notice if when you read the book that I began basically just willing Kyle's World Series return in it's in here somewhere. In May. I just assumed he'd be back. That season's so long,
right?
You got plenty of time to rehab a complete 2 tears of 3 ligaments in your knee. And I just kept saying it over and over again that it was happening. I don't know why we weren't worried about, why we were thinking it wasn't going to happen.
I remember, well, I mean, like they say in the Big Lebowski, if you will it, it is no dream. But I vaguely remember on Twitter at that point, I don't know if I thought you were joking or half hoping, but there was talk that maybe that could happen.
It started as a joke.
Right.
But then it's funny. I was reminded of this yesterday when they announced he's going to play for Team USA, because it wasn't very long after the surgery. I would say it was late May, early June. WGN, and they were on NBC Sports Chicago at the time. It happened a lot where early in games when the Cubs were at home, they would just have some footage from before the game of Kyle running around the outfield in his his American flag shorts. He always wore those stupid things. And he just they kept showing it, and he just kept doing progressively more things as the season was going on. And it stopped being a joke for me, like around the All-Star break. Like, I just think he's probably going to play. It's not like he could move before. He's just got to be able to bat. He stole a base in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to stretch a single into a double in Game 7. He was mad when they pinch ran for him.
Mm-hmm.
In the 10th inning. It's like, Kyle, they literally just sewed your leg back on. It'll be fine. The Bichette thing reminds me then that I wanted to talk about, get your take on a new rule that I came up with, and it's because of the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
And it's the pinch runner rule. I want to redo it because in the World Series, the Blue Jays kept running into very obvious spots where they needed to pinch run for someone. And they were pinch running like Davis Schneider for somebody.
Right.
So my idea is you can pinch run like normal. You can substitute a guy from the bench, but you can pinch run any player who's already in the game at any time. But here's the catch. If that guy's regular turn in the order comes up while he is pinch running, he's out on the bases. So say you pinch run some fast guy and he advances to third, but then the other team's like, well, he's due up in 2 batters and they intentionally walk those 2. He's out at third. And then he gets to go bat. So you lose the one closest to scoring. Huh?
Okay. Now, the merits of the idea on their own, it's great that you're thinking of stuff. It's great. But you know how, I don't know if I think Manfred has said things before, but other people have said, there's a weakness in the rules of baseball that make it unlike like basketball or whatever, where like in the late innings, you can't just bring up your best player to hit. It depends on where the batting order is. You start doing stuff like that where you're bringing in pinch runners who've been out of the game, and you're going to encourage Manfred to do something.
That's true.
Where, okay, we got to have the middle of the order come up in the 9th inning or 8th inning or whatever, however that idea is fashioned.
Well, that's the golden at bat. They've already thought about it.
I know, but
did they ever test that in the minors? They talked about testing it in the minors. And so we actually had a thought about the golden at bat, which would be the opposite, which would be if you use the golden at bat, and then that guy is on base when his spot should have come up, then the other team gets to pick which is out, either the batter or the runner version of him.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that.
Yeah, it's a terrible rule. But how about this? How about if we only did this? How about in extra innings, anybody can be the Manfred man at second base, but with that proviso that if you say you've got some speedy guy and you want to use him, if his spot comes up, he's out.
Here's something. I'm not trying to be dismissive. If you wanted to use, if we have prostituted, or whatever the correct verb is, for the 10th inning already, if you wanted to do like a golden at bat in the 10th inning, if you wanted to bring up to bat whoever you wanted, I might be for that, since it's already clown show, circus, baseball anyway. I might be, but the problem is then, again, it's another door that you open. Then maybe they want to do it in the 9th inning or the 8th inning.
Yeah.
You've already completely screwed up your box scores and the space-time continuum and all that stuff with your 10th inning bullshit. Why not just have your golden at bat? Make it 3 guys. But you only get 3. And if you don't score 3 or 4, I don't know. I'm riffing on stuff, and I'd hate to be the fly on the wall for these stupid meetings. We thought the Boris pun meetings would be bad, but Jesus.
Well, the man for man is basically baseball saying, we don't give a shit about who wins these extra inning games. We just want them to be over.
Right.
That's basically what they're saying.
You're right.
It's like, no, just end it. We don't want a 20 inning game where everybody blows through 14 pitchers. That's the whole reason for it. And so it does lend itself to the idea that, well, then you might as well go a whole hog and just, if the game's tied after 9, it's not even baseball anymore. We're going to have let's just see who can throw. We'll set up the gun behind home plate, and whoever can throw the ball hardest wins.
No shit. Let's do a home run derby to win the game, which they've done now in the All-Star game. I don't know how scientific it is, but it seems like the prevailing opinion has shifted in the players. I think they were like kind of mostly against the Manfred man when it started, and I don't know that that's true anymore.
No, I think you're right. I think I don't think they're all excited about it. They're just fine with it because they don't want to be there either. They don't want it to go on they don't want to play for another 2 hours.
Well, then I get that too, but then I turned into Meatball, Archie Bunker. That's what you get paid for. I mean, at some point, boo-hoo,
It robs you of things like when I was a kid, I think it was in 82 or 83, the Cubs played a 21-inning game with the Dodgers. And the reason it went 21 innings was Eric Gregg blew a play at home plate twice. He called Steve Sachs out when he was safe, and he called Ryan Sandberg safe when he was out, and the Cubs won. And but they had to play it over 2 days because it was too dark. They had to stop and then pick it up the next day. So those games were the Cubs played a ridiculous extra inning game either in 16 or 17 maybe it was 15 against the Brewers. That just went on forever, and fucking Kirk Neuenhuis just kept tying it. Like every time the Cubs were gonna win, Kirk Neuenhuis was like, "We're not going home." It's like, God damn it, Kirk! No, even the Brewers were like, "Would you knock it off? We just want to go home. We're 30 games out of first. Why are you tying the game?"
Well, a better solution here is to, speaking of tying the game, let's go with ties.
Yeah.
Why not have a tie?
Well, I can tell you the ties screw everything up. I can't understand the NFC North standings because of the tie. The Packers tie has fucked everything up.
If we sat down and did the math and learned it, then we would understand it and would feel better.
Well, we could just do points like soccer. You get 3 for a win, 1 for a tie, like hockey. We'll just do that.
How about rock, paper, scissors for a win?
How about longest cup snake? Whichever team can make the longest cup snake.
Cubs have a good advantage there.
Cubs would never lose an extra inning game at Wrigley ever. It would be great. Or maybe not. All right, fine. Sounds like you don't like my new rule. I'm going to keep coming up with them because they can't all be good. They can't all be good. If they were all good, I mean,
I needed to give it more respect. I'm a guest here.
No, it didn't deserve more respect. It's too gimmicky, but I just enjoyed I like the fact that I didn't just want to do it. I wanted there to be some kind of strategic aspect. I wanted it to be able to backfire on the manager, is what I wanted. I wanted him to be like, okay, here we go. We're putting Terrence Gore out there. What do you mean he's out now? Oh, because his spot came up? Well, he never bats anyway.
Right.
But he did once. I'm still tortured by it. Oh, there's one other Herald thing I wanted to tell you about because it was funny. I don't know why I didn't watch that. I like that show, the 9:00 show on MLB Network, except when the season's over and Herald is on. Herald, I just can't. He drives me nuts. I do like the fact though that Vasgersian gives him so much shit. I feel like it balances it out because most panel shows when Harold's on, Harold says dumb stuff and they all kind of like, oh, they try to act like he didn't say something stupid. Where on the morning show. On that hot stove show, Vasgersian makes fun of it, and they have all these old clips of Harold saying dumb things that they will just play, which is funny. They also have a great one, which is, I don't know why this happened, but after one of the Team Japan games, Harold was in the handshake line in a suit. There's no, and they give. I don't want to know the backstory. They just show it. Where all of a sudden, here's all the Team Japan guys giving each other high fives, and Harold Reynolds is there in a suit giving high fives to everybody else for no reason. But this was a perfect Harold moment. They were talking about the potential of the Padres making big moves again. AJ Preller trying to get himself out of salary hell, but still have a good team.
Right.
And they showed the Juan Soto trade. They had a board up with the one, which is I think one of the best trades that a team has ever made when in jettisoning a superstar.
Right.
The Nationals got MacKenzie Gore, James Wood, not James Woods, thank God, and C.J. Abrams, who've all been all-stars. 3 really all-stars in one trade. That's really good. So they showed it, and I'm sure the context for it was, hey, look, here's the one time, or one of the few times this worked out. And they showed the deal, and they talk about the deal, and then Harold at the very end goes, but name me one time when a team has traded a superstar and has ever gotten a good return for him. It never happens.
One other time.
And it's like, Harold, they're literally showing it right now. The one time it's the whole reason for the discussion. It's on your TV network while you're talking over it. I just appreciated it. He is mostly right. That is one of the things about trading for a great player is it almost never is a bad trade. If you get the best player in a trade, you probably have won the trade. Just do it. Get a great player. It's worth it. And for the Cubs, you could do it, and then you just immediately let him leave and get nothing for it because you get a pick. They get a comp pick between the second and third rounds. Great.
Yeah, you look at just kind of imagining things, how if the White Sox had done things differently and still had Garrett Crochet and Chris Sale for some reason, and then had bought a couple of free agents, could they have won the AL Central last year? Maybe. I don't know. But
the White Sox teardown felt like they were. It's the old, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. This is what we're going to do. Because it's like, okay, yes, it worked for the Astros and the Cubs. And then baseball has tried to make it so that it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So that's the only plan you have is to do it. And to me, it's still the great. I know they won the draft lottery this year, so that worked out. So good for them. But the greatest thing is when they lost the most games ever. They picked 10th.
And then the Rockies didn't quite do that this year, but they kind of did. So they didn't they have the worst record ever, but they were outside of the zone for the same reasons. But they're just incompetent beyond.
I continue to have problems with these the veteran committee. I don't know what they're called now, but the veterans committees now.
The new contemporary.
I mean, to me, if you were going to look at the guys that we're considering, and you're like, okay, we're not Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. They're never getting in. Don't worry about them. Let's not even talk about them. I would have thought if you told me one guy got in, my first guess would have been Don Mattingly.
Right.
My second guess would have been Dale Murphy. And then my third guess would have been Jeff Kent. And he's the one who got it.
Excuse me.
I mean, I thought he was good when he played. And I know he's a borderline Hall of Famer, so it's fine. It's not crazy that he's in the Hall of Fame. But I'm like, really?
Well, right. I think you can't make too much of the thing about how, like, okay, some other second basemen that deserve it more than Kent. There's at least 3.
Darwin Barney.
Lou Whitaker and Bobby Grich, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, that's right. Okay.
Those guys have deserved to be in the Hall of Fame and are not. But
Yeah.
they're not. Should you not vote for Kent when you have the opportunity, because there are guys that deserve it more? I've come to not agree with that philosophy, even though there are players that deserve it more. Like you say, if you are like plotting a graph of Hall of Famers, Kent is in the lower half of the second baseman. Like if you were to just didn't put names by, you just put stats, he's not like in the bottom. He's probably, I haven't looked him up, but I don't know.
I did. I looked him up right
60th
after.
percentile?
And he, of the like Hall of Fame metrics that they put like at the end of your baseball, like the gray ink, he's way short. He's 71 out of 144 is the average. But then the Hall of Fame monitor, he's 123, and the likely Hall of Famer's 100. Hall of Fame standards, whatever that is, he's 51, and the average Hall of Famer is 50. And then for Jaws, he
22nd.
was 22nd at second base.
I use Fangraphs WAR, but you have to do your own Jaws for that, and he's contracted to do it with Baseball Reference, so whatever. But yeah, there's like
Jaws is informative because the guys grouped right around him are Dustin Pedroia, Ian Kinsler, Marcus Simeon, and then Bobby Dorr and Nellie Fox, 2 guys who probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Nellie for sure, Bobby maybe. But then Tony Phillips and Ben Zobrist are within like easy shouting distance of Jeff Kent.
Great careers. There are some things that WAR does better than others, and with the smaller players, with faster players, like Kenny Lofton, I don't know. Ricky Henderson, it always seemed like they took some points off. They didn't give enough points for the stolen bases to me. So, like, if you didn't hit home runs, WAR really, or have a huge average, I don't know. I don't know if that's true, actually, but it seems like Richie Ashburn, it took him a long time to get in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't a big power hitter. The guys who aren't big power hitters, I think, are shat upon a little bit. Anyway, Kent, like lower half of the second baseman. There's lots of guys that deserve it more, but if there's an opportunity to elect a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame, you should take it. Now, he's not like Chase Utley, I think, had a better career than Kent, not necessarily offensively, but defensively. He was a great second baseman. Now, he never won a Gold Glove, but I think that's because the voters made mistakes, which is something else you have to consider. There's all kinds of things that there's lots of ways to look at it that you have to look at it to have a sort of a complete picture of what a Hall of Fame player is. Now, Mattingly and Murphy, if you look at them through the prism of like Koufax, and Koufax is special because he was really great, but like Kirby Puckett's a guy who had a very short career, but a high peak. And I think Mattingly and Murphy were better players than Kirby Puckett during their peak. But all 3, for one circumstance or another, had injuries that shortened their careers.
Yeah.
And, so Mattingly and Murphy don't have the big counting numbers. And their peaks are pretty short. But if you like great players for 7 years or 6 years, obviously Mattingly was one of the best players in the league. Very best when he played. And Murphy was too, 2-time MVP. So if I had a chance to vote for them, I would. But I also understand why they don't get the votes, because the Hall has been big or too big or whatever ever since the 30s, like right after it started, when the Veterans Committee started to put in anybody who was like friends with the people on the Veterans Committee. This is documented.
Yep.
That's where the Hall of Fame got watered down in the first place, almost where at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
So you are not hurting the you know, Harold Baines is definitely at the bottom. You shouldn't certainly go any lower than that. But there's also like a lot of other players who are kind of were as good as him that have been in the Hall of Fame for decades and decades. It didn't start with that. Or even Jack Morris, who actually looks better when you look at him through Fangraphs than you do Baseball Reference. So the Hall of Fame it's really hard to water it down. It's already been watered down. But Bonds, I think Bonds and Clemens, the best thing in a way that happened for them is they got fewer than 5 votes or whatever it is, so they can't be in the next time their group of people come up, they can't be on the ballot. They have to wait 5 or 6 years until the next. They have to skip a cycle, so to speak.
Something they were loath to do as players.
So maybe if you are hot to get Barry Bonds and Clemens in the Hall of Fame, now I know why a lot of people are, because Barry Bonds is probably the best hitter ever, or one of the best 3, and Clemens too. But like when players say stuff like, if you cheated, I can't really have any respect for your career, and that disqualifies you for the Hall of Fame. I can forgive the steroid use, but I totally understand why a player who competed against them, who didn't cheat, would feel like they forfeited the Hall of Fame. I think that is beyond valid and probably how people should think. I understand. I get it. I wouldn't vote for Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens because of their off-the-field domestic violence, or whatever you call that, with Mindy McCready thing that Clemens did.
Yeah.
I hold, the character clause, I'm sure, was not invented or added for the sake of domestic violence or anything like that, but it's there, and I get a vote, and I'm not voting for these assholes for that reason. I don't care so much about steroids. I think Bonds and Clemens would have been Hall of Famers anyway. I think it's hard to know how many players took steroids. Are we throwing out the entire 80s, 90s, and O's? There's a lot going on here. I wouldn't vote for him because of the way they treated people off the field. I'm not giving those guys a party.
Yeah.
I don't care. So, and that's bullshit about you can't tell the story of Clemens and Bonds in the Hall of Fame without them being enshrined. That's not true. They're already in the Hall of Fame,
right.
telling the stories about the stuff that they did.
Yeah,
there's exhibits on Bonds and Clemens.
Yeah,
it's the celebratory part with the not busts but the plaques.
Yeah,
where it's like, wow, you don't need to give them that if they were that bad. And the slope isn't that slippery, because if you murdered somebody, or if you are credibly accused of beating your wife, or if you groomed a teenager and started a relationship with them, I'm perfectly fine with not voting for you for the Hall of Fame, and I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So there.
That was always the Pete Rose thing.
Yes.
Was you can't tell the story of baseball without Pete Rose, and then
he's all over the Hall of Fame.
Yes, and we went to the Hall of Fame. I don't know. It's been 20 years ago now. But so I went as an adult because I'd been as a kid, and we walked around, and I just kept he was everywhere in the Hall of Fame. It's like, hey, you can't tell the story without Pete. Good thing. They better put Pete in, because otherwise no one would know his everything. He's there's a picture of him standing on first base crying when he passed.
Yes,
Ty. It's all that shit is in there. The Clemens thing. I always felt like the people who were like, well, if it hadn't been for steroids, he would have been a Hall of Famer without steroids. Barry would have been a Hall of Famer without steroids. I mean, if they just if they quit the year they started steroids, they probably were Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I always thought that's more true of Bonds than it was of Clemens. Because Clemens put up so much of his counting numbers after he went to Toronto. And we know that that's when it all started. When he went to Toronto, all of a sudden he was, instead of being fat like he was his last few years, he was stocky, because he was now all of a sudden he was, and then on MLB Network the other day, they were talking about this, and I might have been Harold again, but somebody's like, well, that's when he learned to throw the fork ball. Oh, is that what it was? Does he learn to throw the fork ball? Is that what changed it? Because if his career had ended in 96, he would have finished with 192 and 111 with a 3.06 ERA, a really good ERA. He'd won 3 Cy Youngs. He had I would imagine a better chance than Kurt Schilling, right? Because Kurt's numbers, Kurt doesn't have 300 wins. He doesn't have whatever.
Right.
But then he leaves and he goes completely nuts. He just, he wins what? 4 more Cy Youngs. He finishes in the top 5 2 other times. He wins just a shitload of games after he left, and he puts it out of reach. And I think we lose the context. The guys who would have never sniffed the Hall of Fame without steroids are Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Like, McGwire's career was over. He was completely shot. He just couldn't play. He couldn't hit 200 his last year with the A's, his last full year with the A's, and that's when all of a sudden he started, whatever. And then Sammy was a good player, but he would never have put up the ridiculous numbers that put him there. So I have no problem with that. But I always the Bonds thing, and they did it. So it's not like they didn't. It's not like they didn't do it. They did it.
And the umbrage that
I still feel like Bonds exists in a different category than Roger, even among those two.
That's fair. I think Bonds, yes, agree. And the hang up that a lot of people have that I do agree with about Bud Selig, enabling, I think that might be the best word. Some say he turned a blind eye, some put it another way, but he let it happen and was kind of slow to enforce and legislate. All of that's true in an effort to make the sport more popular or whatever, or not care. But there's a guy with that, that was his, but he still has kind of left us with this mess now.
Yeah.
That what do you do with the history? And as I said, and you agreed with, the history of the Hall of Fame, it's all still there, whether you enshrine the guys or not. But it's still something that the fans care about to a certain extent, and we don't really have a solution to. There's no concrete method or way of reconciling it. And, Clemens and Bonds get all the shit for steroids, but how many people in the league were doing them? Was it half the league?
Yeah.
So, I mean, something like that.
Well, it's funny. So even their motivations, Roger did it because he was basically, he needed to. He wasn't getting guys out anymore. Barry did it apparently because he was jealous of the attention that Sammy and McGwire were getting. He's like, well, you want to see watch what I can do if I do this shit. And then he went out and proved it. He put up just numbers that are just video game, ridiculous numbers.
Yes.
But that's another window into what an asshole Barry Bonds is.
Sure.
The fact that he would most guys would be like, well, fine, I'm just going to bitch about it. Barry's like, I'll just do it. Oh, great. Thanks, Barry. That's awesome.
I am very curious about maybe just me. I don't know if anybody else is curious, but were the how were the players discussed in that meeting with the committee? And I asked one of the members, who's like, did the off the field stuff come up? I didn't name it specifically, but like Bonds, it's been documented that he beat his wife.
Yeah.
And the McCurdy stuff is a matter of legal record with Clemens. Was any of that discussed? He would not say. So the person I asked. But I've only asked one person. I'm just interested if anybody gives a shit about that or not. I don't expect them to. It doesn't seem like people care about things like that. But I just would like to know if that is a factor, and how off base am I just in terms of being different, of caring about something like that. That doesn't have anything to do with baseball, but certainly does have something to do with character. So,
well, I've always
and Kurt Schilling, why throw that guy a party? I mean, he even said, "Don't vote for me." I don't understand why there's any controversy there. He's like, "Don't even vote for me." And if he hadn't done that, he might have gotten in actually, because he was only off by it was less than, it was like 5 or 10%. So,
and I don't know why nobody. We talk about these off the field things, but not enough is made of the Ed Kranepool thing. I mean, the only reason Ed is not in the Hall of Fame is because he borrowed Chico Escuela's shower shoes and never gave them back.
Tom Seaver always take up 2 parking spaces. That's not true. But now Ed and Tom are no longer with us. Chico Escuela is still alive, but we can't really ask Ed and Seaver about it anymore.
No. There's a lot of people who made it to the end of this podcast who are like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Right.
Just Google Chico Escuela Ed Kranepool and see what comes up.
Bad stuff about the Mets.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Andy. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to everyone.
Many of us have herpes.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. I mean, got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Thank you. Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Andy.